Hello everyone. Famed comedian George Carlin once said, "Electricity is really just organized lightning." While comical and somewhat simplistic, I think it also indicates a sense of fear that some people have with electricity and electrical wiring. Comparing electricity to such a destructive force as lightning, it makes it so that people don't really want to pursue dealing with electrical wiring. This can be helpful for children's safety maybe, but it doesn't really help adults who might be interested in pursuing home improvement projects. Being able to do home improvement projects that involve electrical wiring can help give you opportunities for improving your home and customizing and personalizing as you like, while also minimizing the need for contractors, which may be expensive. Over the years that I've owned homes, that I'm on my second home now, I've been a part of a number of home improvement projects with significant support and guidance from family who've had decades of experience. And one of those projects was removing and replacing light switches. So today I'm going to go over the steps of removing and replacing a light switch. Disabling the power, removing and disconnecting the original light switch, connecting and installing the new light switch, and enabling the power and testing the switch. So the first step is going to your circuit breaker and disabling the power. Here's an example of the circuit breaker. It's actually my circuit breaker in my garage. You'll need to locate yours when you decide to take on a project such as this. So you go to your breaker box and turn off the breaker switch for the room where the light switch is installed. For my setup, I have a functioning model of a light switch that is powered using a wall plug and will be plugged into a surge protector. So this is functioning at this point. It has live power. So for me to disconnect the power, I'm going to remove the plug. No longer has power. At this point I can go ahead and remove the faceplate, the cover plate. This would normally require a flathead screwdriver, but I pre-loosened these screws just to make this process a little bit faster. And at this point, this will expose the electrical box and the light switch that's installed in it. It also gives us access to the wires where I can now use a voltage tester. This is an AC voltage tester. And if there's any power, it should beep. Right now there's no power, so we're in good shape. At this point, you can proceed to the next step, which is removing the electrical switch from the electrical box, and that just takes 2 Phillips screws to be loosened, and that will make the switch semi-freely movable. It is attached to solid copper wires, so at this point it's going to be suspended by that. Now at this point I want to take a moment to discuss some of the wiring here. These slides indicate how the wires are going to be connected to the switch. The biggest takeaway from this slide is that you're going to have 2 black wires connected to brass screws and 1 naked copper wire connecting to a green screw. The black wires should be connected power top, load bottom, which means load's traveling onto the next device, but in essence they're interchangeable. It's just connecting the ultimate circuit. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the wires from this switch. And while I'm removing it, I can note that we have shepherd's hooks on there, which I'm going to use for the next step. At this point, I should be able to pull the wires free, and it might take a little bit of extra loosening. You got to make sure they're fully loosened. And normally this process is done from the front. I'm trying to make it easier to see me in the process. So I've got 1 free, got 2 free, I've got 3 free. It's a bit of a pain from behind, I will admit, but it's not nearly as difficult when you can actually look directly at it. Once you get the switch removed, you can set it to the side. And now you're ready to move on to the third step, which is basically the reverse process of step 2, which is connecting the wires to the new switch. The new switch does have writing on it indicating which side is top. You'll want to make sure that you install it with top to the top of your electrical box. And you'll connect ground to ground. So copper wire to green. Make sure it's nice and snug so that way it's got some support. You want to connect your blacks to blacks. Made it snug enough, but not snug enough, I guess, overall. Alright, so I got black connection number 2. Make sure that's snug. And then I got one more black connection. Unfortunately, in the process of pulling off the connection, I bent this wire a little bit out of position, and that can happen sometimes. So you may need to bend it back in place with needle nose pliers. But I was able to get this one to work as is. At this point, you're going to go ahead and push it back into the electrical box. You'll go ahead and put the screws back in that you took out from the first step. That was a bit of a pain, I apologize for that. This whole thing is normally done from the front, so doing it from behind changes the angles a little bit, but I got to the point now where it's installed, wires are wrapped around. We'll go ahead and take the cover plate, and we're going to put on the cover plate at this point. And that actually involves my flathead screwdriver. Now for the essence of time, I'm not going to fully tighten these in. I'm just going to get to the point where I can actually represent that this is installed. This is painful, guys. I am very sorry about this. I'm going to pass on this for now. I think you guys get the point. 2 screws go back in. At this point, the last step is enabling the power and testing the switch. Plug it back in. Light turns on. That's all there is to it, minus all the behind the scenes, almost literally, trying to get this thing to work. But fundamentally, it's a fairly easy process. It involves disabling the power, removing and disconnecting the original switch, connecting and installing the new switch, enabling power, and testing the switch. With this knowledge, perhaps you have one more tool in your toolbox for doing your own home improvements. Perhaps it also gave you a small taste of what it is to organize lighting. Thank you.